Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter, third time's a charm. I have tried to start this video like 3 different times. So we are going to have a update of the Phoenix watercolor pan sets. We are going to have an unboxing. Then we're also going to compare these with other paints that are either the exact same paint or just similar quality. So I'm going to just open this up here. I ordered this on Prime Day. This is a Phoenix set of 24 and I paid I think $25-ish. It was either 23 or 26. I can't remember exactly. I think maybe it was 23. Anyway, you got 48 colors in a blue tin, which is kind of an unusual color. And there you can see we've got 48 colors all wrapped up. And it has a little color chart on the inside that has information about it. And the thing that was really interesting about this, because I actually purchased this small one back in the fall because several people asked me about it, and I was thinking, I don't want to buy more cheap watercolors, but enough people asked me about it that I figured, well, nobody else has reviewed it. I'll buy the small set. And I assumed that, and actually I think fairly rightly so, that these are like the same as Cadmium watercolors. They seem to be identical to Cadmium watercolors. And Cadmium started having their watercolors made in China about 4 or 5 years ago. And I compared these to the Cadmium colors with the same names. The pigment information matched up. The colors matched up identically. And then I thought, you know, I actually like Cadmium watercolors. So for $26 for 48 colors, I thought it was great. Now there's only 40 colors in the Cadmium range, so there's 8 colors here that are the same quality that are not in the Cadmium range. So that's what really got my curiosity. So this is going to be an update to the review I did. If you want really in-depth analysis of this paint, you can check out that review, and that will give you a really good idea. Now I can show you this leaflet versus the leaflet that was in my Windsor Newton set of 24, set of 40 colors. So the layout's very similar. I'm just going to pull this back a little bit there. The layout's very similar. The pigment information matches. Some of the names have changed because there are some proprietary names, like Phthalo Blue. They call it Intense Blue in the Windsor Newton range, at least in the artist's grade. I think they do as well. This is upside down. I'm trying to read this. Trying to read this upside down. Oh, I need to read the right line. Yeah, Intense Blue instead, but they put Phthalo Blue in parentheses. I have my Cadmium colors all swatched out here, so I will be able to do a comparison. See, pretty. And then I'll also show you the kits and how they compare. So I'll just open up the Cadmium kits just so you can see. So I do like the fact the Phoenix kits have the metal tins. I prefer the metal tins to the plastic. This is what the Cadmium tins look like, or boxes. This was my first one, little 12 sketcher set. This is probably from the late 90s. You can still get them. Some of the colors have been refilled with brands that I preferred over the years. I used to teach with Cadmium until I discovered the big 37 ml tubes of Da Vinci. And then I started using those to refill the palettes because they were a better paint for about the same price if you bought those big tubes. So I've got an assortment in here. You can see where I've topped them off. But this is a great little box. And I do use some of the 12 Cadmium sketcher boxes in some of my classes, my smaller classes. So, you know, they're a reliable paint. And these plastic tins are actually pretty good quality, pretty sturdy. I knew, like, back in the day, before you could find inexpensive metal tins on Amazon, people would buy this set and they would just take the pans out and refill it and put their own paints in there if they wanted a professional sketching set. So, you know, not a bad buy. Much better. The quality of this case is much better than the quality of the Lucas Studio set, which is very similar, but it's hard to open and just the pans fall out. So this is a much better design. So then after that, I got this set. This is this was what they sold in America for the studio set, rather than a travel set. They sold these full pan watercolors, and there were 24. And the interesting thing about the American set versus the European set is that they used true cadmiums and cobalts in the American set. So you can still find one of these old American sets. I would recommend that for that for that reason, unless you want to avoid the cadmiums. And I have refilled a lot of these colors. Some colors I haven't used very much, but I have refilled a lot of these colors, and this is just a workhorse. I really like it, and at different times I pull out, for some reason I lost the full pan that white was in, so just the white chunk is just sitting there, barely used, so oftentimes I will put in other colors, little half pans in that little spot. But that's that. It comes in a box similar to what the White Nights come in. If you have a pan of the White Night colors, this comes off for rinsing, which is really good if you keep all your mixing to that. And there's a space for you to put a brush, which is nice for, keeping a round brush handy if you want to. And I just made my own chart with some mixing ideas, because the Vermillion Hue is so good for mixing or different greens. If you take the Cad Orange and the Vermillion Hue, it's a beautiful mix. And then a couple of years ago, I spotted this on Amazon, where most of my bad decisions come from. Or is this Amazon? It seems like I would say bad decisions. It's not a bad decision. I just haven't used this very much. But I picked up the Cadmium 45 Studio set. So there's 40 unique colors, and then there's 5 duplicates. So there's an extra. I think there's an extra yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, burnt sienna, and titanium white. I think. Or it might give you an extra black and white. I think it's an extra burnt sienna and an extra white. So I took those extras and I put them down the center channel of some of my, so like I have the Prima Marketing tins that are like similar to this, but they're black, they're standard tins. And I would put some of those extra colors in the middle because all the Prima sets were very specialized sets and they were always lacking a certain primary or something. So I would just I took those duplicates and I put them in those sets just to make them a little more versatile. If I was just going to take one set and go. I'm a palette addict, I think, at this point. But they spark joy. I enjoy grabbing one and painting with it just for something fun and new to do, just to kind of break me out of a creative rut sometimes. So so it's kind of fun. So again, same palette design. This one obviously is less yellowed because it's newer and hasn't really been used too much. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really find the quality change that much between the French-made and the Chinese-made ones. I think they probably gave them the factory the proprietary information. And ironically, about that time that Windsor Newton switched their manufacturing of their Cadmium line to China, we started to get a lot of really great, inexpensive paints coming out of China. So I think they just kind of took the recipe and ran with it and started white labeling it for other companies. That's my opinion. I don't work for either of these companies. I don't know for sure, but that's my I don't know, assumption about that. So, and I know what happens when you assume and all, but there's a lot of Cadmium equivalent watercolors for cheap, like the Maya Himi Rhombus set. That seems just like Cadmium paints to me. I'll grab that at some point in the video and show you that, but it's in the other room. And I've already started this video like 3 times and we're 7 minutes in. Now the other thing I want to show you that's kind of interesting, because Phoenix, the company Phoenix, makes a lot of paints for different companies. They are a white labeler. So this paints that I picked up one of these a few years ago at Ocean State Job Lot for $5, just out of curiosity, because they looked a lot like the Grumbacher and the Pelican and the Alternate. Well, Alternate came out with a set similar later on down the line, but wasn't as good. But these watercolors, I think they're actually more like temper cakes. They are fantastic, and I bought the set and I used it and I really liked it, but then I thought, these are definitely not light fast. I should just get rid of them because I wasn't teaching kids again at that point. I did my big KonMari cleanup and I'm like, when am I really going to use these in my own work? I'm only going to use them if I'm teaching again. So I gave them away to a friend with a preschool, and I regretted it because they're such fun paints. They are, they do have a little bit of a chalky texture to them, but they're really vibrant. And the thing I really like is that you can actually pull out the pans and like you could like pass a few colors around a table to kids and let them work with it. You can rearrange them in your own way. And $5 for 24 colors is such a deal. It comes with white in a tube, like a tube of white gouache for highlights. I think this would be such an excellent set for a child. I mean, I have fun with it too. I think if you just want to dabble, even if you're like a card maker and or a scrapbooker and you're not really interested in getting into watercolor, but you want to put some like accents on your greeting cards or your scrapbook pages, I think this would be a really great set to go with, and it's $5. They dry out really well. They don't get goopy. Like sometimes you can see on this paint here, and this is pretty standard for traditional watercolors, is sometimes they can get kind of like goopy in humidity. These aren't as bad as like some like M. Graham and Sennelier can travel. Mission Gold, they can travel in your palette. Like if you have your palette tipped on its side, and like the paint can slurp out and make a mess. So that wouldn't happen with these. So it would be handy if you're traveling in you know, if you get a scrapbook bag or whatever, and they will work on your cardstocks and whatnot. So I just thought that was a neat buy. The cool thing about this is it was $5 at Ocean State Job Lot, but if you go to like they make this set, can be bought under the Arteza brand name. It can be bought under the Lucas brand name. It can be bought under many different private labeled companies because they do this private labeling and they charge a lot more when you buy it. Well, the company set the rate that they want to sell it for, but $5, man, that is a steal. I think under 10 is actually a steal. I think they actually might even sell this at Hobby Lobby as one of their paint sets for like 10 or $20. So, but you know, hey, $5. I would buy this if I was doing like a class. If I was like an elementary school teacher, I would buy these, like buy enough for the whole classroom. Definitely. I don't think you'd be wasting your money at all to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through. I'm going to unwrap all of these. I'm going to stick my labels to a piece of watercolor paper like that, and I'm going to get to swatching. I thought I'd share with you how I make my swatches that go in my swatch binder, which, by the way, it's a complete mess, but absolutely useful and essential. So this is my swatch binder. People like get totally triggered by this. They'll be like, why don't you make that neat? That's such a mess. It's so unaesthetic. It's like, I'm the only person that uses it. It doesn't need to be aesthetic. It just needs, when I go through here, I compare watercolor brands so that I can tell you whether you're buying the same paint under a different brand name or very similar, comparable paint under the same brand name, so that you don't have to be insane like I am and own all these crazy palettes. I enjoy it. They spark joy. But still, you know, it's kind of ridiculous. But anyway, this is how I do my swatch book. I save the wrappers and I adhere them into a book. And honestly, I need to go over that with some just cello tape because I'm losing some of those. I've lost some of those. But anyway, this is how I do it. My Cotman ones held up great because I actually have kind of a two-prong system for them because they are not they're not a sticker. A lot of times your wrappers will come, they'll be like a sticker, and you can like just peel them off the pans and then you can, oh my gosh, these are wrapped exactly like the Cotmans too. And then you can just stick them on the paper. These I'm going to have to tape down because they're double wrapped. They are wrapped in paper and then they're also wrapped in cellophane. So if you want to avoid excess plastic packaging, you know, just be aware that these will have that excess plastic. Now when you take, oh, these are interesting. The little prongs on these, usually they're a little bit thicker. So if you just plop them back in, they're gonna rattle around. So what you want to do after you take the after you unwrap it is bend it. And then you're going to take the pan. By the way, if you, these are extruded pans, which means they kind of come out kind of like a hard-baked string or hard-dried tube of pigment, and they slice them apart to fit the pans versus poured pans. That's one of the reasons I could tell that like this set of Maya, these are extruded pans too. I think they're the exact same. I'm going to compare my swatches while I have everything out. So you bend that prong forward, and then, because you're going to need to do that after you unwrap these because they're going to be loose. And then you want to press it and you hear that snap. Okay, let's do it again. Now I'm setting my wrappers in order so that I don't misplace it when I swatch them. And I will be trimming these down as well. This is probably going to be the longest, most boring video. But you know what? You can put it on in the background while you're doing your artwork. Have a friendly chattery voice in the background, or oh, maybe you're washing your dishes or you're cleaning your house. I like to do that. I put on these. I put on videos like this when I am doing housework. So I bent the prong forward. I just pushed it forward. They're aluminum. I think they're very easy to bend. And then I'm going to put the pan back in. The bottom of the pan is going against that little rail in front, and I am just gonna, you hear that? Push it in, you're gonna hear that snap, and that's gonna, they're not gonna wiggle around because that's very aggravating when your pans are wiggling around when you're trying to paint. Okay, so then what I do is I take some scissors to keep it neat. You could tear it, and I just trim off the information I don't need. So that way I don't have to copy down pigment information. I don't have to copy down names. My penmanship is horrible. So that just saves me from that step. Just trim off. I'll trim off the barcode. You can order replacement Cotman pans. like, so say you buy this Phoenix set and you really like it and you're like, oh no, I used up Ultramarine Blue. You can buy a Cadmium Ultramarine Blue watercolor pan, or you can buy a tube of the Cadmium paint and refill it. I have tried the Phoenix tube paints from Ocean State Job Lot, and they are not the same as Cadmium paints. They are chalky and awful. But I'm wondering if they might also make the tube paints, or just maybe sold under in a different area. I haven't seen Cadmium equivalent tubes, except for AC Moore carried a brand called Premier. AC Moore is now out of business. They closed before it was a few months before the pandemic started. But anyway, they closed, but their tube watercolors seem to be the same as Cadmium. And I don't know if Phoenix made them, but so I haven't found a Cadmium equivalent tube for cheap on Amazon, but the pans anyway, if you were to buy any of the Cadmium tubes to refill one of your Phoenix pans, that would work no problem. Also, I would say for the Maya Hemis. Now, I can't say obviously with 100% certainty. I'm like 99.999999 to the nth sure these are made by these are the exact same paint as Cadmium's. These I would say I'm like 95% sure, because there could be other factories that have, you know, the same recipe. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick all of these wrappers down and then draw a black marker line. So I'll just show you that. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Under that, I will just make a stripe with black marker. I didn't do that with my when I first did the big Cadmium set, which I kind of regret because I like to see the transparency. So I'm going to do that underneath so that when I go to swatch the paints, I will have that black line so I can see if there's any filler, how translucent, how transparent they are. It's just a nice point of reference. So I will catch you back here once I have done that. I've also prepared some smaller swatch sheets, so I will make one that goes in my watercolor box, because I like to have a swatch with my paints in the order that they appear in, so that, because with your watercolors you're going to look a lot darker in the pan than they look when you paint them out, especially if they're not one with lots of optical brighteners, which Cadmiums I don't think have a lot of optical brighteners in them. I think they're a pretty good student grade traditional watercolor. I know that's an unpopular opinion. A lot of people think they're trash, but I actually think you can do a lot with them. But anyway, we'll see you back after our stickers are adhered. Oh, by the way, after these are all stuck down, you might want to put some tape over top, but you don't have to. It's up to you. It depends on how well you think they're going to stick. This is pretty thin paper. I think they're going to, I think they might stick all right, but I can put a strip of clear tape over that if I doubt it. Yeah. Small change of plans here. I realized that on these pans that I actually looked at them under my magnifier. All of the pigment information is on the colored strip, and so I don't need to keep this silver strip on the end. So I'm actually trimming these down a little bit more, so hopefully I can fit these in the order that they are in the pan, so I'll have 4 rows, and that would be a little bit better. Oh my gosh. Don't you hate it when you start filming and you can't, you know, act like a human? You can't do a menial task correctly. So I'm actually cutting off the barcode, and I'm cutting off the silver on the end here. That's going to give me a plenty ample swatch, and it will hopefully allow me to fit 12 across. And so I'll be trimming off those. And by the way, look at that gorgeous color. I think they're calling it, because I cannot read without my that print is so small. Well, I don't know what they're calling it, but it looks like a beautiful Naples yellow that is not one of the original Cadmium colors. So that's the other thing. A lot of people hate Cadmium. I really like Cadmium, so I am very pleased to have some 8 additional colors that are not on the Cadmium line. Yeah, so anyway, we shall return when, see, luckily I can still peel this up, so I'm just going to do that right now. I hope that I can fit all 12. Maybe I'll trim them down a little bit more, because I could actually trim a little bit down of the colored strip and still have room. For me, I find it very helpful for my swatches to be in the same order as they are in the palette. That doesn't always work out. It's essential in when I make my small swatches to go in my here, that it's in the same order. Like I'll show you, I can show you on this one. I didn't stamp the swatch, but it's essential that I have the paints are in the same order so that if I'm just doing a quick glance, I can tell that's purple and that's brown. Because if I'm just taking a quick glance, they're like the same value, you know? So it just helps me paint faster. And when you're using one of these sets and you're out and about, usually painting away from home, you know, light's changing, things are moving, you need to paint quickly. And having that be the same orientation is so helpful, because your swatch should be a tool, not just something fun to do when you first get paints and you don't know what to paint. Okay? Okay. So I was wondering, do you think we should swatch? We haven't swatched together in so long, but I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like feeling nostalgic, so I'm going to swatch a few. Maybe we'll keep going. Maybe not. So let's see. I got a rag. I got a couple buckets of water. I've sprayed my palette. I'm just going to wet the area here. I've got plenty of space, so I should be able to just go right in order. I'm going to start off with Lemon Yellow Hue. Ooh. Nice and vivid. Nice and transparent. Don't see any issues there. Let's go to, goodness, I gotta use my phone to, I could use my camera on my phone to read it. That is, oh good grief, Cadmium Yellow Pale Hue, PY 175 plus PY 65. The other one was just PY 175, I think. Yeah. Let's wet the area, blot the brush. It's a little bit warmer than our lemon. Also looks pretty clean, but I'm maybe seeing a little bit of a sediment on top of the line. We'll see if that goes away as it dries. Next color is, what do they call it? It looks like a Naples yellow, but I think they might be calling it a Jaune Brilliant. Yep. Now that's PW6, which is titanium white, and PY 110, which I was not that familiar with. That's, oh goodness. I don't know if I'll be able to pronounce it. No, I don't. What is it? It is Isoindolone Yellow. It was previously used as a gamboge from M. Graham, but they discontinued the color. It's a it's kind of a moderately warm yellow, but then with all that white, it's kind of giving it that Naples yellow color. A lot of times Jaune Brilliant is like this almost like really bright apricot color. I think I have too much water in there because I think this is gonna be quite opaque. I gotta sop up some of that water and we'll re-swatch. Let me just blot my brush and just try to pick up the pigment on its own. These pans seem really full. I tried to pop out the watercolor. Yeah, that's a pretty opaque one. I tried to pop the watercolor out so I could see if like they were filled out of the bottom or if they buckled up or something, but I couldn't get them out, so they're in there tight. I've never seen those types of pans to be glued in before, but maybe, especially if they're in the pans. Let's see. This next one is called Gambo Hue, and it's PY 150 and PR 209. And I lost my camera. It closed. I'll have to turn that back on in a second. Probably run my phone battery dead. And this is weird though. I've never seen a gamboge to look this this brown in the pan. But PY 150, I believe, is used as like a Quinn Gold. Let me look that one up real quick while I've got the handprint website open so that if I get stubborn. Nicolezo Yellow. Yeah, you know what? That does look like Nicolezo Yellow. That looks very much like Nicolezo Yellow. I gotta see if that's one that's... I think Cotman had a gamboge. Actually, let me look at my swatch. Cotman prints their labels a little larger, luckily, so I don't have to, you know... I don't have to get a magnifying glass. Is that... Yep, they got Gamboge Hue. It's the same pigment, it's the same pigment makeup. Obviously, I think they're the same paints, but... Yeah, that's interesting. Usually, like, a lot of our gamboges just look a lot more, like, buttery in the pan. All right, our next one is, I think, Cad Yellow Hue. There's no way I'll be able to read the pigment information on that. I probably should get my eyes... I know I need to get my eyes checked. I'm just so stubborn. You've got to zoom in friends. Cadmium Yellow Hue, PY97 and PY65. Goodness. PY87, gosh, I'm not familiar with that one. They're throwing me some curveballs today. Let's give it a little bit of water. And let's swatch that bad boy out. Cad Yellow Hue. Oh, it's pretty though. So here's a little controversial topic. I don't know, maybe my hot take anyway. So Windsor Newton, maker of these fine paints, they also have come out with a line of cadmium-free paints, but they charge like top dollar for them. And I'm thinking, that's pretty. That's a cadmium-free cadmium yellow. Why wouldn't I just buy that for cheap rather than spending extra for their proprietary cadmium-free colors? I don't understand that. What did we say that yellow was? We said that was PY97. Let's have a look at that over on the handprint website. I apologize for this extremely boring video. Aerolite Yellow. Okay, that's not a real tricky. Light fast, semi-transparent, staining. Light valued, intense yellow pigment. Very, very pretty. Oh, but yeah, okay. Oh, what are we doing? This is going to take a long time. I'm expecting the we ordered an oven. It's getting delivered today, and my husband has to go do some errands, so I can make sure I listen for any stove people, but not for another hour or two. But still, I guess it's making me a little distracted right now. All right, this one is the Cadmium Orange Hue. Man, they could really like make their logo a little smaller and print the words a little bit bigger. Cadmium Orange Hue. Not focusing very well though. Let me zoom that. PY83, PO43. Okay, let's swatch her out and then, oh my, that is pretty. Oh, I like that. Generally, cadmium orange is PO20, and I think in my Cotman set from the American Cotman set with the full pans from back in the day, I think they did use PO20. Ooh, that's pretty. I like that. PY83 though might be, let's see, Aerolite Yellow from Old Holland. I'm just seeing if there's any information. It says it's light fast to impermanent. Well, that clears things up. Could be good, could be bad. One thing I did notice that if any of the colors that also corresponded with the Cotman colors, they would they had light fast ratings on them, and this one is rated. I'm not going to do this for all of them because that's going to be so boring and take forever, but permanence A. So it's rated very well. Like that one, like the ones that are not, they have NA for the permanence. It means they're not a Cotman color, I believe, and they never did the light fast testing. So we're just going to go through and swatch, I think, because I don't know, I like to impart some information, but it's really difficult. Ooh, that's pretty. That's a Cad Red Light Hue, it looks like. Very pretty. I mean, I find that that Windsor Newton in general with their Cotman line was always very conservative with their color use. I never found they used really strange pigments. They use the same pigments that were in their professional range, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I just want to make sure I don't lose my track. But, you know, there would just be more extenders. So when you bought the professional paints, you really felt like, wow, these are much more vivid. And I will attest to that. I have a little bijou box. The first time I ever used professional Windsor Newton watercolors was from a little bijou box. I'll go back in and do a glaze of color on these two. And I noticed a difference immediately. But I think their Cotmans are good too. And these, in turn, I don't really think, other than the lack of cadmium colors that they used to have in their line, I don't really notice a quality difference. And maybe it's just me being nostalgic and, you know, having a bias towards these colors, because, you know, I think everybody probably I don't know, I think most people in America anyway. Oh gosh, that's gorgeous. What is that color? I gotta look it up, guys, sorry. And I cannot. I cannot see the damn thing. Darn, sorry. Oh, for goodness sake. Cadmium Red Deep Hue. PR 254, PR 188. My, that's pretty. That almost looks like a Naphtha Crimson. That is gorgeous. It's more transparent than a cadmium color. That's real pretty. That is strawberry. It's like strawberry, isn't it? That's so pretty. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just, it really irritates me when so many people crap all over Cotman and in turn, you know, these paints. Ooh, this must be like a rose madder or a permanent rose. That's really pretty. That one might be a little bit thick. And that's something I did notice on some colors, especially the ones that are more like a laked color. They tend to be a little bit thick on the pan, like that viscous. That's what I'm looking for. They tend to be a little more viscous. Now here, this one, I'll just do a quick peek. This one is permanent rose, so that one's probably oh, what? No, I'm over one. Alizarin Crimson Hue. Really, that does not look like Alizarin Crimson to me. PR 206. Huh. That does not look like, I would not call that Alizarin Crimson. Maybe they got messed up. That does not look like Alizarin Crimson to me. And I'm pretty familiar with the Cotman Alizarin Crimson because that's one of the colors I used to teach with. My teaching palette used to be back, oh gosh, that's gorgeous. Back in the day, it was Alizarin Crimson, Cadmium Red, Ultramarine Blue, Prussian Blue, Cadmium Yellow Deep, Lemon Yellow, a Nickel Titanate, Lemon Yellow, Yellow Ochre, Sap Green, and Burnt Sienna. Oh, Rose Madder, that's pretty. It's so dainty. One thing I will say about the color palette from Windsor Newton, and granted, these are Phoenix, I gotta keep, they're indistinguishable from Cotman, but is their traditional palette is so pretty. It's so delicate. They have a gorgeous, this is mauve. Oh, no, Purple Lake, I'm sorry. Oh, that's pretty. I have a full pan of this one. This one might feel a little bit weaker than what my old school, but then again, I may have topped off that's the thing with my older palette too, with the full pans, I've topped off a lot of colors and I may not have used the student grade, I might not have used Cotman, I might have used something else, so that's kind of hard for me to say for sure. Now this one, what do we got here? This looks way darker in the pan. Oh no, that's mauve. I love their mauve, it's so pretty. Isn't that just something? That's gorgeous. Yeah, I definitely get that. I'm getting the nostalgic vibes. Let's see, this is probably going to be a dioxazine violet. I didn't pre-wet that one. I've noticed I pre-wet some, not others. Let's just add a little water there to the end. I like these big swatches though. Dioxazine violet's a very strong color. It's even stronger in a pro range. This looks like ultramarine. That's one. I use a lot of ultramarine. That's the pan that goes fastest. I would recommend upgrading the ultramarine just because how they price student versus pro paints is the amount of pigment in there. Windsor Newton uses the same pigments for both except for the cadmiums and cobalts, but can you see how that's a little bit thick? Kind of when I drag my brush through, you can see the texture of the brush stroke, which you really shouldn't in watercolor. It should kind of disperse. That's the filler there. Ultramarine is not a very expensive color. It's always a series 1 color, which means like when you buy it, you know how like if you're at the paint store, you'll see like a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and instead of the tubes being priced, there'll be like there'll be a chart on the wall and it'll say series 1 is, you know, say $7 a tube, series 2 is 10, series 3 is 13, you know, and so on and so forth. Ultramarine is always a series 1. It's not that expensive of a color, so, you know, you could get, like, what I do is I get the 37 ml tubes of Da Vinci because I go through ultramarine, like water, and, oh, that's really pretty. I didn't grab the same color twice. That's pretty. That's cobalt blue. Used to be real cobalt, now it's ultramarine plus white. I almost feel like though this disperses better than the ultramarine. Yeah, just pull. I can make out the size of the words. I can tell it's cobalt blue hue. Yeah, it almost feels like that has more pigment in it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend, especially if you do landscapes. I don't know, ultramarine blue is just such a good, useful color that that would be a great one to upgrade. I also like Daniel Smith's ultramarine because it granulates so pretty. Their French ultramarine is really nice. But man, it's hard to beat Da Vinci for value as far as like getting those tubes. So after I was teaching, I used to teach with a Cotman. I used to buy the big tubes of Cotman. I would special order it from my local paint store. And then I discovered the Da Vinci and I switched to that because I could get a 37 ml tube of Da Vinci for about the same price as what I was paying for a 21 ml tube of Cotman. So I started to do that. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 in 1, 2, 3, 4. I lost my plate. Wait, is that right? I feel like I'm missing a color. Oh, you know what? I think I swatched the wrong color there. Okay, I'm gonna blot that up. I'm pretty sure I swatched the wrong color there. Yep. Let's clean that up. Hopefully I can lift it all up. Oh, it's coming up. The paper that I use for my swatches in my swatch book usually is Fabriano Studio, which is a 25% cotton, and the rest is wood pulp. But it's, I find it, you know, it's also an apples to apples comparison because I've swatched most of my stuff on that. Cotmans do lift really well, and therefore so do these Phoenix colors. My opinion. Oh my gosh, don't want to get sued. Okay, so this is the one that should be swatched there that I don't think I swatched. Oh, this one's really weak. What's this one? I bet it's like, well, I was going to say Cerulean Blue Hue, but I think that one's probably Cerulean Blue Hue. I'm going to have to look at those because that's a little confusing. It's kind of pretty, but it's very weak. And it's kind of slimy. You know, it's kind of got that, that filler texture. We've got to see what that is. We got to look. Verdi Blue, and this is not a Cotman equivalent, and it says PB28, which is the that is a pigment for cobalt blue, but it's really weak, so it's got to have some serious fillers happening. But let's try adding some more water and more pigment because that should granulate pretty well. If it's PB28, let's see what happens there. That'll be an interesting one to mix with other colors too. Let's see what happens there as it dries. Okay, and so the next one must be Cerulean Hue, and that's got a permanence 8. It's PB15. Wait, is that right? Did I get the right? Yes, Cerulean Blue Hue. And then the turquoise is PB15 and PG7. And then we got Phthalo Blue, which is just PB15. Nope, denotations of the colons. On there, usually it's like PB15:3, but I've noticed that too on some Chinese-made paints that they don't do the denotations, or I mean, maybe there's just PB15, nothing. I know there's 15:0, I guess that, or :1. I guess that could be that. I'm not a chemist, I don't know. Let's see, this next one, turquoise, which is really pretty, and this is really pretty in the professional range as well. But man, this Cotman / Phoenix is really nice too. Isn't that gorgeous? So pretty. It's very relaxing. It's funny, I hate swatching colored pencils, and I don't do it unless I'm doing a review, and I'm actually changing my reviews so I don't swatch colored pencils anymore. But I like to swatch watercolors because they always show us something new than what we can see in the pan. This would be our Phthalo Blue. Oh, that's nice. That's really bright and intense for a student grade. That's pretty. That's also a less expensive color too. I don't think that's as expensive to produce because it's usually a series 1 color, and you'll find it in most sets. It's a really indispensable mixing color. And this is probably Prussian Blue. Oh, that's nice. That's quite concentrated. Now, hopefully by the time I put this video up, these will be available again. These, I had my eye on them because they were going for about $38, which isn't a bad price, but I just kind of like been trying to talk myself out of them, but then I'm like, but if I do see a good deal, and they went on sale for like $23 during Prime Day, and I snagged a set, and then they went out of stock. So I don't know if they'll be back or not. This looks like it might be an emerald green, which isn't a color I use too much, especially this kind of viscous version. I'm not a big fan of that. It's also looks a little I don't want to say chalky, but I can see some like sediment on the lines. And now we've got, looks like a permanent green light, and I don't know if that's part of the Cotman range. Oh, it's pretty though. It's almost like a May green. Oh, that is nice. Let's take a peek and see what that is, because I don't think that's a Cotman color. I can keep track of Cotman because there's only 40 colors in the line, and PG7 and PY1, oh, that's not rated. It's not a Cotman color, and PY1 is not a very light, fast color. So this one's probably going to turn cooler as it fades. So if you have that displayed in the light and you had, say, a leaf, and you had that used as your lighter color, that leaf would go from a yellowy green to a more bluish green if it faded, like if it was exposed to light. And this one, oops, I got a big crinkle in there. And that's PG7, PY175, Permanence A, and was it emerald? Yes, emerald. I don't know if you can read my phone when I'm doing that. You probably read it faster than I could. I have a lamp that's got a magnifier on it, which is really handy for this sort of thing, but not very handy for filming. This next one, I don't know what it says. It's Permanence A. Let's swatch her out. Oh, phthalo green. This is a weak phthalo green though. This must be the PG36 phthalo green. Let me take a look, because it doesn't. PG36 phthalo green is phthalo green yellow shade. PG7 is the one I prefer, and that's green shade. Yep, phthalo green yellow shade. I don't know. For me, this looks kind of fake. And the regular phthalo green, the phthalo green, PG7 phthalo green does look a little fake too, but it's so strong that it's better for mixing. Now, this is a weak version. I think it's typically stronger than that. Let's take a look at the next one. Now, see, that's phthalo green blue shade. They might call it something different. Oh, they call it Vermillion Hue. That's often called Vermillion Hue. Vermilion usually it's usually hard to re-wet, and it's not as strong, and it's PG 18. Actually, this is probably more similar to what Vermilion general, like a natural Vermilion is. It's softer, like this. I think that's changed since the original Cotmans that I had in the full pans. That one doesn't seem as strong as the one I had. The next one is Hooker's Green Deep. I think also because this is pretty far away, this is a lot closer to me, so I can read those letters a lot easier. So let's see, let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that the one I picked up? That one looks a little chalky to me. I'm not that crazy about that one. That one looks like it's got some major fillers happening. Hooker's Green isn't a color I typically used in Cotman, so there's probably a reason for that. This one is Hooker's Green Light. How many? 6 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't want to pick the wrong up. It's funny, in the pan this one looks darker. Ooh, this one's nicer though. This one has more, I feel like that one has, it's just very dull. I'm surprised this one is light and that one is deep. I'm gonna have to look at my Cotman chart and see what they call them. Let's do that, actually. Maybe they got them wrapped wrong. Maybe I glued them down wrong. I mean, who can say? Let's see, they've got Hooker's Green Dark and Hooker's Green Light. Yep, same in the Cotman. The light is actually more robust. Wait a minute, is that right? Hooker's Green Dark, Hooker's Green Light, Hooker's Green Dark, Hooker's Green Light. Hooker's Green Dark, it should be called Hooker's Green Dull, I think. It's just a duller color. And then, it's so funny because they go in like the same order. They even go in the same order as like the Cotman ones did. Oh, you gotta get up early in the day to fool me, friends. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in from that side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is this color? Oh, that's really opaque. Let's add some water and drag it down. That does not look like a Cotman color. It's interesting. It almost reminds me of like a cooler chrome oxide, just with the thickness of it. But not quite the color of it. Let's see. Got a little tape glossiness there. Permanent Green Dark, PB15, P Yellow 3. So it shouldn't, oh, and P White 6. Oh, first pigment is titanium white is the first pigment in here, so that's why it's so chalky, so dull. But then it's Phthalo Green, and then it's Hansa Yellow. So it shouldn't have huge light-fast issues. It's not rated because it's not a Cotman color. It's expensive to rate colors to get the light-fast testing done, and probably Windsor Newton paid for the ones for their colors, and they didn't bother. And Phoenix didn't bother to do it for the colors that they developed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one. And this is probably Permanent Green Light. Oh, yeah. Kind of like how the Scotch tape is like making a little barrier. That's a pretty color. You guys bored yet? My camera's about to run out. Let me look at those colors. In that one we have PG7 and PY1. So we're going to have that same situation. And this is not a Cotman color. It is not rated. And it uses PY1, which I think Windsor Newton would never approve of. So that will shift to cooler colors once the PY1 fades, which it will if it's displayed in light because it's a very unstable color. So I'm probably going to go in and actually put little markings on there to mention that. So this is also one that's not rated, but I thought there was an olive green in the Cotman line, but you know what? I guess I'm wrong because I don't see it. I don't see an olive green on my big swatch here. Oh goodness, I just dumped all kinds of things. So yep, there's no olive green in the Cotman range. There is in the Windsor Newton artist range. So that'll be interesting to see what they're using for this. It's pretty. It's very yellow. Let's hope it's not PY1 in there. It's almost like a Nicolazo or green gold. Let's see. Oh my. Huh. Oh wow. This is interesting, guys. It's PBK7, Pigment Black 7, and PB15. Huh. That black is going to have some serious yellow undertones. Interesting. That's really interesting. I wonder... I don't think PBK7 is a heavily granulating color. It'd be neat if it was, then you could get some cool texture. Here we go for Sap Green. Now, this is feeling a little, yeah, this is a little weak. Although, I will say the Windsor Newton artist Sap Green's also a little bit weak, to be honest. In the artist range, I like their olive green. I find that to be a little bit nicer. Let me take a quick look at the permanence there. Where are we? Permanence A, PY 130, oh goodness. PY 139, PG 36, PR 101. Well, you could mix it from other things here, although their PG 36 is pretty weak. I would actually do Viridian and Cad Orange to get a Sap Green. That's what M. Graham does, but they have a true Cad. Theirs is, I think that's what they do. Gosh, now I should double check. Here we've got a raw Sienna. Again, it's got that kind of texture of of that kind of viscous texture. And yellow ochre is our next color, which should be PY42 or PY43. This is it's much stronger and is a much better color payout, much better texture to it. All right, we are down to our last row. I'm just going to try to scoot that up a little bit. Maybe these will be close enough to my face so I can read them. The first color we have is Raw Umber. Not a color I use too often. Now, one thing I've always noticed with Windsor Newton line of paints, and I know we're talking about Phoenix, but come on, who are we kidding? Even in their artist range, I find their earth tones to be a little weak. This is a permanence AA, which AA must be the best, and A is okay, moderate. They're all fairly decent. I don't see any. There's no real awful light fast problems in the common range, I don't think. This one's Burnt Sienna. They use PR101 in their Burnt Sienna. That's one thing that that I didn't. Why I think their Burnt Sienna is not my favorite. It's kind of orangey. And then they also have like light red and Indian red, which are so very similar. I think what they tried to do with their common range is get the most popular colors out so that students that may be following tutorials or trying to use palettes that their instructors are using can get the colors that are the most popular, and then they can upgrade to their artist quality lines. That is a nice light red. It is a bit on the opaque side, but that's always the case. But I like the texture of the paint and the intensity of it. That would probably granulate really beautifully with the Ultramarine Blue or the Prussian Blue. I think we'd get some really pretty mixes there. In fact, we should give that a try. Let me first swatch out this Indian red. Ooh, that's pretty. That's got a more of a burgundy tone to it. All right, let's do that. Let's take, I got a scrap right here. Let's do, let's try Prussian Blue. Prussian Blue can darken in the sun, but then if you put it in like a dark closet, it should revive itself. Let's do that with the Indian red and see what we get. Oh, that's pretty. That's got some nice texture. Let's add some water to it. Let's see what kind of texture we can get when we let that dry. You can force granulation if you get some granulating colors and you really add the water and just let them sit. You got to be patient. If you air dry them, if you heat dry them rather, they will lose that granulating texture. Then let's try Ultramarine Blue and some of the Indian red. And it's named that because of the clay that this is made from. The iron oxides are mined in India. Ooh, that's like kind of a pretty eggplanty color. Let's see what those do as we let them dry. We'll set those aside for right now. I think they're going to be really pretty. Oh, let's let them mingle in the middle. They're single and ready to mingle in the middle of our palette. Oh, I just cleaned my brush in the clean water. Well, luckily we just have browns to do left. All right, our next one is Burnt Umber. I prefer the Burnt Umber to the Burnt Sienna. Oh, I love the texture. I'm already getting the Indian red just sitting there in on the paper. That's pretty. But you can see what I mean. That the Burnt Umber looks decent. It's just a little weak. Same thing with their artist range. I don't know what it is about the earth tones. Maybe it's just the style of painting. Maybe artists like Windsor Newton go for a more delicate palette. I do find Windsor Newton's colors to be more delicate than a lot of other brands. I also find Sennelier's to be a little more delicate. Let's see, it should be on this one now. This is Dyke Brown. I think these are both PBR7 based. I like the Dyke Brown. It's just got a little bit more oomph. I think it might have some black in it. Actually, maybe not. it looks like PBR7 and PR101. That's pretty. Now we've got, we're getting into the blacks and grays. This one's actually sepia. Is that one right here? Trying not to lose my way, lose my place. I think we're... Oh, their sepia is really nice too. Their sepia reminds me of the Rosa sepia. It's very rich. Some sepias are just kind of flat and dull. And then we've got indigo. Oh, that's pretty. That one might mix nicely too. Now that is probably a staining mix. Let's take a quick look at what that is, because I'm interested. And I don't recall on the Common lens what they were. It's not a color I typically use. We have got PBK7, PB29, which is your ultramarine, and PB15, which is your phthalo blue. Huh. I think the PBK7 must be kind of like a little bit yellow tone to keep that from being too blue, and it is kind of leaning a little greeny, and that had the PBK7 in it too. That made a really yellow color with the PB15. Now we've got Payne's Gray. That's our fourth one over. Just trying not to lose my place. That's a pretty neutral to cool leaning gray. Nice for stormy skies. I don't use it too often. Nice for stormy skies. Also nice in botanicals for doing glazing shadows and not getting mud. And then we've got, is it ivory black? Yes, ivory black here. Which is not a color I use very often. It's quite opaque. And we can look at the pigment number on that one too. Ivory black, PBK9, and then we're going to go over to lamp black, which is PBK6. And I just did I did some marker there so we could paint the white over and see how opaque that is. Ooh, this one's got a little nice texture to it. That might be fun for mixing and getting some texture. See that? Can you see that texture in there? I didn't know that PBK6 was all that granulating, but it does look like we got some good texture in there that we could play with. Okay, and then last but not least, we're going to do the white, but I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to get something a little bit stiffer that doesn't hold quite so much water. I'll take this one right here. Should have done this one first before my water got all gross. I could use a spray bottle though, and I could... There we go. So it's neat to see the other colors that weren't in the Cotman range. And basically, I mean, you could use this to lighten colors where you don't want to lose the viscosity. Like say you want to make a really pale color, but you didn't want it to be really watery. Like you want something to have a little body to it. Like maybe you're painting a sweet, like a macaroon or a strawberry milkshake or something like that, and you want to have that viscosity. Or you could use that, you might be able to use it for highlights. It looks like it's PW6. Let's take a quick look. If it is, then it'll be a little more opaque than a typical Chinese white. PW5, that's unusual. So we'll have to see when it dries how opaque it is. I don't recall it being that opaque. I can look at my other big binder here and see the white is not really all that opaque. So it's probably not going to be the best for highlighting. You probably want to get some gouache. But there we have that swatch. You know what I should have done? Oh shoot, and I forgot because I was chit-chatting. I got to swatch these on the smaller one to go inside my my tin there. So I'm going to do that off camera. I hope you found that interesting. And when this all dries, I'm going to do a glaze. I'm going to do a stripe of color on top of everything. So I'll probably let this dry and then do the glazes while I paint this one. And then we'll come back here. We'll compare our swatches with the other Cotman things that I have, and we'll see how the Phoenix watercolors stack up to the Cotman. One thing I thought was really interesting that I wanted to bring up before I did the glazes is that the raw sienna in both the Phoenix and the Cotman both have this weird kind of bubbling feature in the texture, and it's not like that on any other color, but those two both did that. So that's another reason that I was pretty sure these are the same paints. But anyway, thought I would just bring that up, and then we'll see you in a bit. I wanted to pop in with a couple observations. For one, something's wacky with this paper. I think I must have touched it after I put lotion on or something, because I do notice a couple areas where the paint was just kind of resisting. But it will be fine as far as the swatch in my tin. But one thing that I wanted to bring up with this is that I was excited to get this set because it was in a metal tin, and I prefer the metal tins to the plastic ones. However, they're so cramped in here. This tin is smaller than a typical 48 set. Let me show you. This is a typical size 48 set tin. So if we set that right on top, you can see that this is kind of like, I would say, about 3/4 of an inch narrower than a typical 48 tin. See how I kind of, see how it's thicker? It's a regular 48 one is thicker. So the issue there, I'm just going to set that aside because it's still wet. The issue doesn't seem like it'd be that big of an issue, and I know a lot of artists will take those, will take out the tray and they'll just pack it right full out, half pans and full pans and whatnot. But what I was finding with this is that I had to be careful not to hit the pan next to it, especially because a lot of these pans are I'm not going to say overfilled, but they kind of dome up outside of the pan. I mean, if I hold this sideways, can you see how thick, how like they're kind of rounded on the top? And when you're putting water in there to get it going, like on that Naples yellow, it would kind of like run down to the next color. Obviously, that's not going to be a problem after you've used them down, and it wouldn't be a problem if like it was pans you filled with tubes, because you wouldn't have to fill them up that high. Hence, I didn't run into an issue even when they were tightly packed here. I did kind of have that issue a bit if the pans were touching each other. So you might want to take care to maybe put little gaps in between the ones that are really, you know, high with paint. It was just something that I noticed, and I thought I'd make you aware of it, because yeah, it's really easy to get into two colors when you're trying to just get one where they are tightly packed. It was also kind of difficult to put these pans back in when like to push the prongs and put them back in while I was working on them. So I just wanted to make note of it. It's if you're going to just use the tins for storage, maybe take pans out and put them in a smaller tin. It wouldn't really be an issue. And I think once the paints get used down a bit, it won't be an issue. But I thought I would mention that. If you look at the Cadmium 45 set tin, there is room between, like you can space these out if you want to. And also there's a rail in between each of the sets so that you could, you know, it just gives you, at least on two sides, you're not going to be bumping into a paint neighbor. Or you can even take some out and like put them on the tray or something like that. They're very easy to rearrange and to move and whatnot. So since both of these exist and they're essentially the same quality paint, I want to say the same paint, but I don't want to get sued. You know, you might use that to decide. However, hopefully these will be back in stock when I do this review. If not, these have been reliably on Amazon for between $40 and $60. I think they're usually around $50. I think I paid about $45 for this, and I thought it was quite a steal. I'm going to compare some of these color by color, just doing like some little paint tests, because I want to see through the years. These are the Phoenix ones are brand new. These are probably 4 or 5 years old, and then I've got really old Cadmiums, and I want to compare them because I have a feeling that things may have changed somewhere along the lines, because there's a few colors like the Alizarin Crimson seems kind of weak, and I just want to compare a few through the years and see if I can notice a shift. I'm wondering between like the set from the late 90s between the set from like, you know, 2017. I'm just curious, and if I find anything out, I'll let you know, and I'll be back in a minute. All right, real quick, one more thing. One advantage to the Cadmiums is that they print the color names, and they don't print the pigment information, but they do print the names on the pans. So I can be sure of the colors that I have, and then those are new, obviously, so I know what colors they are by the chart. But I mean, that's nice. Also, I noticed that on the bottoms of the half pans, there's nothing on the Cotman, and there's a pH on the bottom of the Phoenix, but the pans themselves are the exact same size. The Windsor Newton pans are tapered, and they will fit in the portable painter, which I thought was kind of interesting. You know, because sometimes it can be hard to find pans to fit that unless you buy them right from Portable Painter. Boy, lots of random information, and I don't have my rings on because I was just kneading dough. I forgot to put them back on. More than you ever wanted to know from Lindsay today. So surprisingly, I didn't notice any difference between the old Cotman and the new Cotman, with the exception of Cobalt Blue. I tried to just do ones that I know they hadn't changed the recipes on, and I did know that the old Cobalt was, but I didn't have, I know I've refilled my Ultramarine, I think with M Gram, so I didn't trust the swatch from that, my old Cotman set, but I still had some Cobalt, so I did do the old Cotman Cobalt with the new Cotman Cobalt and the Phoenix Cobalt. I didn't have Cobalt in the Maya paints that I think might be the same paints. Other than that, these other colors, Yellow Ochre, Vermillion Hue, Raw Umber, the Cerulean Hue, Cad Red Deep, because the Cad Red Deep in my old Cotmans are not a genuine. The Cad Red is a genuine, Cad Red Light is a genuine, Cad Yellow is a genuine, Cad Yellow Light's a genuine, and Cobalt Blue was real Cobalt. But they've changed the formulations of those. And that's from like, I don't know, late 90s. The old Cotman's from late 90s. The new Cotman is from 2017. And on the box that I ordered from Amazon, there was a sticker that said Made in China or Made in the People's Republic of China. That was over the Made in France sticker. So I believe the Cotman paints I have are made in China, and the Phoenix are made in China. And so I just wanted to compare the colors apples to apples. And then I used the Maya colors, which I don't have color names for them. I was just eyeballing them from this palette here, and man, awfully similar. I really couldn't tell the difference between those colors. I just kind of eyeballed it, but I would not be surprised if these also are the Phoenix, or coming out of the Phoenix factory, because all they got to do is extrude those pans and cut them on an angle. They've got the same dome, they've got the same texture. When I wet them, they take the same amount of, you know, licks with a brush, you know. How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Cotman pan or a Phoenix pan? They seem to have the same texture to them, the same look to them, the surface of them, and they seem to wear very similarly. So yeah, that's I'm thinking these are probably all the same paints. But I did not. What I was worried was that I was going to notice a big decline in quality from the French-made Cotmans to the Chinese-made Cotmans, and I did not notice a difference. Windsor Newton is a British company, but they've had their watercolors made. They used to have their watercolors made in France. So that's good news, because, you know, sometimes nostalgia, you think of a paint being better than it is, and then when you go back to use it as an adult, you're like, oh, this is kind of a bummer. And then I was like, well, am I looking at Cotmans now with all the experience and all the other brands that I've tried, thinking that they've gone down in quality, or is it just a misremembering because they were one of my first experiences with watercolor? I mean, my first experience was Marie's Chinese watercolors, which are different than the Marie's watercolors that are sold really cheap at the big box art stores online. So my first experience was Marie's Chinese watercolors, and then it was Windsor Newton Cotman, and then it was a couple of the artist grade Windsor Newton paints, but I pretty much went to M Gram when I went to artist quality, and so then that was a pretty high bar to compare other things too. But I don't see a decline in how quickly they activate, and I made sure to use ones that were the actual original Cotman pans and not ones that I'd refilled from either Cotman tubes or artist quality tubes, which would probably have been Da Vinci at that point. So yeah, I don't think they've changed. I think they must have just sent the recipe over to that factory of the Phoenix paints and had them make it. That's the only thing I can think of. Now, the fact that there's been a lot of good quality paints coming out of China lately, or good student quality paints for very cheap, I'm wondering if, you know, a lot of those are being made by Phoenix, or maybe just some information has been learned by making the better quality paints, and that's affected the industry. That's been my speculation. I don't know if it's true or not. But anyway, I would say if you like the Cotman quality paints, you'd probably like the Maya. The funny thing is, I think I see a lot of people rave about different paints when it's like, that's the same paint as something else, or it's so very similar in quality. And I see that across the board with so many different things, because unintentionally we have our biases for or against different lines of paint. If we were frustrated when we're using a certain product, then, you know, we might think badly of that product when really it was maybe our technique was off. And then we can have something that's equivalent, but we're having a good day and we think that, you know, that paint or that pencil or whatever is so awesome because of how we approached it. That's why I try to use things over a series of different days and different moods so that I'm not biased for or against something just because of the way I was feeling that day. But anyway, that's my little experiment. Like I said, I have reviews of Cotman paints. I have reviews of the Phoenix 12 set. I was just kind of looking at this bigger set and seeing what was different. Oh, one thing I want to do is I want to go over my my swatch and show you the new colors that are not available in the Cotman line, because there's 8 more colors in the Phoenix line that you might be interested in. So I'm just going to go read, because I got to read the labels and they're so tiny. I don't want you to sit through that. I'm going to go alter my swatch or circle things on my swatch and be back in a second. Okay, let's wrap this video up by going over the differences, the 8 colors that are in the Phoenix set but not in the Cotman set, and then comparing the colors overall. I'm actually going to change my battery because I think it's going to die on me. Okay, so I did draw a rectangle around the colors that are different, and we'll go over them. We'll also compare. So there's lemon yellow in Phoenix, lemon yellow in Cotman. Granted, I swatched these like when I first got the set back in 2017, 2016, 2017, right around there. There is our Cad Yellow Pale Hue. So then this color that's in Phoenix is the Jaune Brilliant. And that is a mix of Pigment White 6, which is titanium white, and PY 110, which is a warm yellow. So it's not really that much of a Naples yellow because it's really more bright than a Naples yellow, but you could definitely take that and mix it with a little bit of yellow ochre, raw sienna, maybe a little bit of brown, one of the browns, and earthify that a little bit more if you want to. I'll be interested to play with that color and see how I might find it useful. Then we've got the Gambo Hue. Then we've got the Cad Yellow Hue, and then we've got Cad Orange, also a hue. We've got, then we've got a new color from, and that one's fine. I would say that Jaune Brilliant is fine to use. Excuse my French accent, which is not good. Then we have a Vermillion Hue, and that is made from PR255 and PY65, which should be fine to use. It has an NA. All of the ones that I square that are Phoenix colors only do not have light fast ratings because they didn't pay to have them done. It's expensive. It's a deal. It's a big, you know, it's a big thing. And then this is like obviously my speculation. I can't say this enough. I'm speculating that Phoenix makes Cotman watercolors now because of all the things that I found out. Then we have the, and I like both brands and I would recommend them both, and I'm not trying to throw shade anywhere. I'm just saying, hey, if you got this, then these are going to be the same. Or so very similar, they're indistinguishable from a, you know, experienced watercolor user. Then we have Cadmium Red Hue. Again, similar, all the pigment information matches up. Then we have what's this one? Oh my gosh. Cad Red Hue. Cad Red Hue. Okay, so that's Cad Red Hue, Cad Red Hue. This is Cad Pale Hue. They're all hues. All the new Cotman sets are hues. There's no genuines anymore. Then we've got this other color here, a new one, Scarlett Lake, and it is PR3. This one will fade. PR3 is a pigment that's not very often used except in cosmetics, I believe, and maybe food and student grade paints, craft grade paints. I think I've seen this in some of the Mungio or Jane Davenport sets. Don't quote me on that, but I think I have. I've seen it in Aquafine too, I think. I don't know if they still use it, but I think I've seen that there. But that is, and maybe even the student grade sonnet paints. So it's kind of a cheaper pigment that gives you a really bright color. Fine for learning. It's just known to fade. Then we have our Cad Red Deep, which is a cooler red, beautiful, almost like a Naphthol Crimson, gorgeous, stable color. Then we've got our Alizarin Crimson Hue, which, you know what, I thought, boy, that doesn't look like Alizarin Crimson, but then I'm looking at the Cotman one, I'm like, that doesn't either. I'm wondering if they made a change in Alizarin Crimson since the 90s, because, and maybe they might have used actual, I think they probably used actual Alizarin Crimson, which was a very fugitive color, because this does not remind me of what I used to use for a cool red from Cotman, and I'm assuming that's why. And pretty much all manufacturers have stopped using the true Alizarin Crimson, just because it is so fugitive. I think some companies still make it because some artists still want it, especially if they're older and they studied with their instructors that use Alizarin Crimson Genuine. So they probably still make it because there are people that want those historical palettes, but know that those are going to fade. And if you're not just doing them for like a sketchbook work, it'll be fine for a month and then like a shot be gone. So just be aware of that color. But this is a hue, so that should be fine. But I just don't think it looks like Alizarin Crimson to me. It looks like it looks more like a rose. Then we have, speaking of rose, we have Permanent Rose there. And I didn't do the glazes on my Cotman swatches. I guess I wasn't doing the glaze test at that point when I was doing those. Then we have Rose Madder Hue rather. Then we have Purple Lake, which is a beautiful color. Then we have Mauve, which it's so pretty when you do the glaze. I wish I'd done the glaze on the Cotman one, but I didn't. Then we have Dioxazine Violet. Then we have Ultramarine. So I'm just going to try to bend this here so we can see Ultramarine. Then we have Cobalt Blue Hue, and my old Cotman American set has genuine cobalt. Then we have a new color, which is actually a cobalt blue pigment. They call it Verdi Blue, which is I think just French for no, that's not right. Blue is azure in French. Anyway, that's what it's called. PB28. It looks like it's got some fillers in it because it's not very robust. Oh, you know what we could do though, because let's compare the old Cotman Cobalt Genuine. It actually looks a lot more like the old Cotman Genuine Cobalt, but it's got some fillers in it or something because it's not as bright as the Cobalt Blue ought to be. Then we have Cerulean Blue Hue, which is PB15. Wait a minute. Oh, I was off one. And it much better with the glaze. This is the Phoenix, that's the Cotman. Then we've got Turquoise, which is a mix of PB15 and PG7. Gorgeous, gorgeous color. Of course, you can mix it yourself. Really pretty. Phthalo Blue or Intense Blue, depending on the trade name. Then we've got Prussian Blue, which I didn't do the glaze. I did the glaze here, so much more vivid. But I think it's the same color. I just didn't do the glaze with the. I could. You want me to? Let me just yeet some paint over here. Let me sauce me some paint, as the kids would say. Oh, this is going to be over an hour, and the video is going to start skipping because YouTube does its thing, and then it will be fine. So this would be the Cotman. So I'm not tricking you. The Cotman version, and this is. Did I say it was intense? We're going to do. Well, that's intense. I'll just do a little. Or was it Prussian? It was Prussian that we were going to do. My goodness, it's been a long day. I've been working on this all day. Isn't that ridiculous? So then we can compare. I'm probably going to get that smeared all over my swatch, but Prussian Blue. See, it's nice and bright. I just didn't do the glazes on these for whatever reason. I don't want to mislead anybody. Then we have Emerald. Is that right? No, Intense Green. Oh yeah, they call it Intense Green, a phthalo green Intense Green. And that is PB36, different from PB7, PG7, PG36. So PG36, PG36, and PG7, which we'll see in a minute. It's more vibrant. This is Vermillion Hue, which is PG7. And for whatever reason, they're in a different order here. That's it right there. This one in here is called Permanent Green. And we should have that. Is it there? Gosh, I think those look like, that might be the same color right there. And... oh gosh, guys, I'm so sorry. So anyways, this is a color that's not in the Cotman range. This is, God, I can't read it. It's on a pale green and it's white. But anyways, the pigments used are PG7 and PY1. I would consider this color fugitive because PY1 is fugitive, so the yellow will fade out and you'll just be left with a very pale green. Okay, let me find my place again and try not to smear stuff. So... it looks like that is that, and I think I just got those two. Those two are flip-flopped. Emerald, PG7, PG7, Obviously I didn't glaze that one, but that's a great one to mix with your warm yellows and oranges and get gorgeous sap green colors. So there's a Hooker's Green Deep, there's our Hooker's Green. And we got this other color from Phoenix that's not in the Common set, and this is a mix of Pigment White 6, PB15, and PY3, a Hansa Yellow. So it actually looks a lot like chrome oxide, a little bit cooler than chrome oxide green because of the white. I would say it should be pretty stable. I don't think it's a very nice color, but I also really do not like chrome oxide green, PG17, which is a completely stable color. I just don't care for it. It just seems kind of thick and muddy to me. This one here is a pretty color in the Phoenix line, but not in Common. It's a mix of PG7 and PY1. Again, you're gonna have the same issue that you would have over here, where the yellow's gonna, the yellow's gonna fade away, and you're just gonna be left with the PG7. So those two, while they are pretty, I would probably not use them. Now this one's a little mystery because it says PBK7 and PB15 are the mix, but I don't see how it could have so much yellow. I actually got a tube of PBK7 there from White Nights, mixed it with a little bit of the PB15. I couldn't get anything that looked anywhere near a yellow, and I did it on a couple different papers. Where's the other one? But anyways, none of them came out yellowish, so it must be an undisclosed pigment, and since we don't know what that is, we don't know if it would be light fast. It's pretty though. I'd love to use it. It looks like kind of like a green gold color. Maybe it's PY150. That would be my guess, that it's PY150, but I don't know. It's a mystery, so use with caution. Then we've got our tried and true Sap Green. This actually looks kind of like the olive green in the Windsor Newton artist line that I like, but without knowing what the yellow pigment in there is, it's kind of crapshoot. There's raw sienna, that weird bubbly raw sienna like we have there. Our yellow ochre. We've got our raw umber. We've got our burnt sienna. We've got our light red. We've got our Indian red. We've got our burnt umber, our Van Dyke brown, sepia, indigo, Payne's gray, ivory black, lamp black, and white. And the pigments match up on those. Very, very comparable, guys. Get whatever you like the tin better, or whatever you like the color arrangement better, if they're available. The Cotmans usually are around 50 bucks on Amazon for the set of 45. Remember, 5 are duplicates, but the duplicates they give you are pretty good, with the exception of, it's either Chinese white or lamp black or something. One of those, I can't remember which one. They give you one or the other, but there's a yellow ochre, an extra Alizarin Crimson, an extra Ultramarine Blue, and an extra burnt sienna. So it's they do kind of give you nice ones, except for I can't remember if it's a white or a black, but whatever the double of those are, it's kind of a bummer, but the other ones are fine. So it just depends whether you want those extra 8 colors or not. But hopefully you have the information that you would need to decide. And of course, for 20 bucks, you can get this Maya set of 36 colors. This comes in either a white or a black case. I recommend the white just because you can pull this center part out, and it comes out really easily, and then you can use this as a mixing area. So if I were you and you're thinking about buying this, go for the one with the white base, so you have that mixing area if you don't have a palette handy to mix on. Because the lid isn't great for mixing, because it's just one, it's curved. Everything's going to roll to the middle, and it's clear, so it's hard to see what you're mixing. It's a novelty palette. It's cute. It reminds me of like a spaceship or something, but it's not the most practical. However, it's pretty affordable for 36 pans of Cotman quality paint. I'm not saying it is Cotman. I'm not saying it's the same paint, but gosh, I wouldn't, if you put me in a blind taste test or blind paint test, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to get sued. I like Windsor Newton. I like the Phoenix pan paints. I didn't like the Phoenix tubes. I like the Maya paint. I've liked pretty much everything that Maya has put out that I've tried. So there's a lot of great options out there. I want you to find the paint that's going to suit you well. The nice thing about Cotman though, guys, or if you get the Phoenix and then you need to replace a color, you can buy a tube of any of these colors of Cotman so easily in America, in most of Europe. So it's very easy to find a replacement if you use a color up, which I think is really important, because no matter what you buy, no matter what tin you get, you don't want to buy a whole tin if you use one color up, right? If you can just buy Permanent Rose, right? That was Permanent Rose? Yeah, Permanent Rose. You can refill that Phoenix Permanent Rose with a Windsor Newton Permanent Rose tube. And they're pretty affordable. The Cotman tubes are pretty affordable, so it's a great way to start off with an inexpensive set and then refill. Or any of these colors that are from the Windsor Newton Common line are available in the artist grade. So if you're like, man, I really love Ultramarine Blue, you can buy an artist grade Ultramarine Blue. You love Lemon Yellow, you can buy that in the artist range. So it's so easy to upgrade if you know, once you've gotten used to the palette of colors you like. There's no point to buy 48 colors in artist grade paint. You're probably going to find 12 that you love using all the time. It makes way more sense to buy those 12 in artist grade paint. Buy the ones you're going to use, not buy ones that you'll never touch again, because that's just a waste. Paint in the tube is a waste. Paint on your paper that you've used is you know, the way to spend your paint. So that could be a really great way to start off with something and then upgrade as you know it's a color that you're going to use. And Windsor Newton paints are lovely. They've been the gold standard for a long time. They're a very delicate traditional palette, and I think a lot of modern watercolorists prefer Core, they prefer M. They prefer colors that seem to have a lot more punch to them, but botanical artists really love Windsor Newton and Sennelier for those more delicate palettes. And it's not one is better or one is worse, it's just what do you like. And it's nice that you can start out with a very cheap paint here with the Cadmium or with the Phoenix, and then just purchase what you really are going to want in a comparable matching color in an artist range if you decide to go that method. I am a believer that there is the right paint for any painter on any budget. You can find something that will work with your style. And that's one of the wonderful things about our current paint situation. And hopefully my videos will help you not buy the wrong paint or help you not buy paint that's not going to work for you. My favorite paint is not going to be your favorite paint. My favorite colored pencils that I use the most are not the highest quality pencils I own, but they just work for my style. And I try to be as unbiased as possible. I've been rambling. I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe you've got some paint swatched while you were listening to this, or got your studio cleaned, or got your floors washed. I don't know. But anyway, I enjoyed spending some time with you today. Thank you for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this very long video. And until next time, happy crafting. By the way, this sample dried when I wanted to try to see if I could find some really granulating stuff, and I used the English red and light red and ultramarine blue. So this would be... that had more blue, and that had more of the, this side was English red and ultramarine blue. That was light red and ultramarine blue, and I kind of let them mix in the middle. I did not get granulation with that combination. I think it's just maybe too many fillers in the ultramarine blue. But anyway, I found that when I was cleaning my table after recording this video, so I thought you might want to see it. There you go. That's it. I'm done.